Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special call meeting, Danville City Commission, for this evening, Monday, August the 10th. The hour is 5:32, I believe, 5:31 and a half. I will call us to order. Commissioner Terry is still vacationing somewhere where there's a beach and an ocean. I have no idea beyond that. Not my day to keep up with her. Exactly. I will ask that we be led in a prayer by Commissioner Kevin Cardle.
Thank you, Mayor. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather here to do the business of the city. We would ask that those who are making decisions about the education and welfare of our children, guide them to make the best decision possible. Also stay with and protect our first responders and essential workers, and keep us all safe. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Let's stand, and if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commission, you have had the agenda since Friday. I assume it meets with your approval, and we'll go right into it. With the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being July the 27th. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Second by Commissioner Cardle. Discussion.
There was a vote in there. Were you with us on that? Because the paper printed it differently. I just want to know that we got the minutes right. And the paper got it wrong.
Oh, I voted no.
He voted no.
You voted
Voted
no.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
What vote was it?
I think it was.
It was with respect to the dismissal of John Castle. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is some reappointments for the Cemetery Committee. You'll see that there are 4. Unless council disapproves, I would like to take all 4 at this time and reappoint them, even though some of them aren't up until September.
Okay. I will make the motion that we renominate Gail Lewis, Laura Newman, Ms. Emma Shannon, and Ruth Ryan.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 3 is a new appointment, and this is one that comes even, well, Ernest came to me and said he'd like to be on the Cemetery Committee. I said, great.
Bless his heart.
We'll find a spot. And I'll entertain a motion for that appointment.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you,
And I'll
Commissioner
second it.
Cobbles. Mr. Atkins, second. Any discussion?
No, I'm glad he's willing to get in there and get involved.
Yeah.
Good guy.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is the reappointment of Vince DiMartino to Planning and Zoning, and that'll move his term out another 4 years.
Offer a motion to reappoint Vince DiMartino to Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Discussion?
Once again, I appreciate anybody who'll take that whipping, so thank you.
He's glad to do it. So all in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 5, Ms. Lester, this is the codes report.
If it'll turn green for me. The report you have before you is for the month of July. We issued 122, we had inspections, complaints, 122 for the month. We issued 70 parking citations. We issued 47 business licenses and placed 24 liens and recovered one. We, if you look at the condemned properties list, you will notice that 222 West Main has been removed now. So we're excited about that. All of our alcohol licensees have renewed except for one, and they're in process. I just issued Cracker Barrel's alcohol license yesterday, so they should be ready to start selling as soon as they get theirs in. The governor has increased the capacity for bars and restaurants starting tomorrow at 50%. They will all have to have a seat and be socially distanced, and they will have a curfew at 10 o'clock. Sales will stop at 10, and they need to close it at 11. So that will give
50%, did you say?
50%. It's 25 right now. So that will allow some of them to open. And I'll entertain any questions you might have.
If I understood what you said, that we've got one more license.
The state extended licenses till August 31st. That's the last day they can renew for alcohol licenses for if they expired at the end of April.
Okay.
So we got one more that they've got till the end of the month to renew.
But did the state not also remove the allocation of licenses? In other words,
The only limit on licenses is for liquor package stores. That's still determined by population.
Okay.
Everything else is,
Okay.
they removed them on the quota drinks.
gotcha.
So we have 7 currently.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
I got the next item. I got the next item.
Let's see. Oh, yes, you do.
We've had some of our licensees ask about leaving their tables out on the sidewalks. Currently our alcohol ordinance does not allow that. So we're proposing that we allow that for the next 6 months to give us an idea to see how that works, and see how it works with the downtown master plan as well. So we are proposing the municipal order for your approval.
I'd like to make a motion to approve municipal order 08-1001-2020 as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Discussion.
I think it's a good thing to give it a try, and that's what you said. Certainly, we're trying to help all these small businesses the best we can during this time. It's a little tight for them.
Yes, and we've been working with the restaurants any way we could to get them some additional seating. Some just don't have any place for them to go.
And I'm going to recuse myself from any vote since I rent to one of the establishments that would be positively affected by this.
Okey-doke.
Any further conversation?
That's a good idea.
Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 6 is municipal order 081001-2020. Sorry, we just did that.
Did that one.
Item 7 is the second reading of ordinance number 1952, the downtown master plan permit moratorium. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, this is a follow-up to the ordinance that had first reading at the last commission meeting. It's provided tonight for the second reading. If Ashley wants to read it by title, feel free to do so now.
This is the second reading of ordinance number 1952, an ordinance imposing a temporary moratorium on building and zoning permit applications for new construction under Article 3 of the Danville zoning ordinance in the downtown master plan area boundary pending the adoption of revised regulations.
Any comments?
That is again, I think you mentioned, or Steve mentioned, it's for new construction. You can still renovate to your heart's content.
Correct. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Oh, well,
Nope, I'm sorry.
well, I
I'm
just
sorry.
assumed that,
Excuse me,
I just
Commissioner.
assumed that by now, folks in this area, property owners are aware of the fact that we're doing this.
What we will do is send out a press release and just notify folks as best we can. We don't necessarily see a lot of new construction in the next 6 months, given the dynamics of the economy right now, but we just want to be cautious in case.
Does this affect our fire station?
No.
Hadn't thought about
Yeah.
that one.
So you say the best you can. I would think, and I'm probably right, Bridget probably has a good handle on those downtown businesses. You probably have an email list, don't you? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. Well, we'll do the
We'll
best
send
we
it to
can,
the
like you
heart.
said, in the absence of
Yeah.
the heart director.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we should reiterate, too, that this would affect a very qualified few, actually, lots that would be suitable for construction in the downtown area. So it wouldn't be a place where businesses are currently operating. So to Bridget's point, she may or may not have contacts with just vacant landowners in the downtown master plan area.
Yep. So I move to accept that ordinance.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Paris.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes, ma'am.
Item 8 is the city manager report. Mr. Coffey?
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. We want to talk first and give an update that city attorney and I have met and discussed the community unrest related to the Black Lives Matter discussion, and we are anticipating reporting back to the commission on 8/24. Staff is collecting some data in the background, and we are allowing them to finish that process, primarily the police, and then ourselves. We will be able to, like I said, report back to you, and then we'll also be prepared to host a community meeting of community stakeholders if that's what you all want to do. The second thing I have, unless you all have specific questions on that, is we had a handout. This goes along with the moratorium on the enforcement, but this is an item that is going to be discussed with completion of the downtown master plan, and that is what to do with the sidewalks along Main Street, particularly between 2nd and 4th. The request came up, if you turn to the sheet, it looks like this. There's two photos side by side next to the last sheet. This was sent around by some of the folks doing our, well, with the chamber. It made its rounds on Facebook, but this is one of the items being discussed as a temporary measure to see what could be done if, what would the impact be if the sidewalks were widened in spots, right? And so what this allows us to do is to do something temporary in front of a final streetscape design, and just to see what it does, see what impact we can have, and see how accommodating it is, and to trial it really with an alternative that's not crazy expensive. It's going to look like about $4,000 or $5,000, or I'm sorry, about $4,000 to $7,000 at a couple different locations. You could spend a lot more than that if you really want to go with a lot of bang. You could spend 20, but that's not what we'd like to do. We'd like to start with something very affordable, keep it simple, but at the same time, we want to make it positive. We want it to receive well when it's seen, when you drive by it. And what we're talking about, if you go to the very first sheet, is marking off a couple of areas in the blocks of 2nd and 3rd, particularly on the north side. We've identified a location. You can barely see it in that attachment. We call that Parklet B, and then from 3rd to 4th on the south side, we have an area we noted as Parklet A. And what we would like to do, if you turn to the next two sheets, is there's a sketch, a rudimentary sketch of what we would do. We would build a frame, deck it, add some safety measures to delineate the seating to prevent someone from walking out into the street from that area, and set tables up, as you can see in the remaining pictures, the one I mentioned first, and then the top picture in the last sheet is a really good example that is a finished product. Ours, again, we don't think ours would be that elaborate in terms of its barrier. We'll try to simplify that a little bit. But what we'd like to do is to consume a couple of parking spaces in each block and construct this temporary seating area so that the sidewalk could be expanded out into the parking. The parking's about 8 feet off the curb. What we'd like to do is come out maybe 6 feet and make that the edge of our seating area, put up a barrier on that, and then as you can see in the one picture, it has a curb along the what is considered the edge of that parking area. And if you'll remember how downtown is now, there's a gap between our parking and actually the driving lane of a couple, 3 or 4 feet there. So that 3 or 4 feet would remain, right? And so there will be as much as 5 to 6 feet from the edge of the driving lane over to this barrier that's shown in that last photograph. And so what we'd like to do is go ahead and proceed in that direction. It's an investment, but we do think it's a good way to trial that prior to doing the streetscape design. I know the pictures are worth 1,000 words, and for those people that are watching on TV, it makes it very hard to explain. And certainly, if you all can ask some questions, hopefully we can alliterate that a little bit better than me trying to describe it, hustling through a bunch of pictures. Yeah.
I like it. My concern was distance from, the tables and the people to the traffic, but it sounds like there's more than I imagined anyway. It'd be a good, I was picturing something where you could wash somebody's car if you were eating a hamburger or something, but it's gonna be a little further away than that.
Yeah, you still got about that 4-foot
Yeah,
buffer.
Still, I had us taking up that buffer, I guess, but.
So Earl, how did you come about choosing these 2 spots? You're probably gonna need to defend that with a couple of other downtown eateries that might want to petition for the same.
That is correct. We picked those 2 spots as locations where there would be likely users of the area if there were tables set up. One of them is in front of, down near Plank. One of them would be up near the Pizza Pub. And on the north side, between 3rd and 4th, we'd like to locate another one. We just don't have a spot picked out for that yet. It can't be too close to the corner. It would have to be farther away. And so we know we would do these 2, and then we could also do another one somewhere else. But if you look on that very last sheet, and there's a caption inside of that upper picture. This document, the last sheet, was provided by the Downtown Master Plan team. And what they are suggesting is that this is a good alternative. They're confirming that this is a good alternative to try. And so what we would like to do is start with a couple of spots, and then as we go through and get these done, if we see other locations, we can try them there as well, and have that at least temporary, at least that happen for a period of time prior to getting into the streetscape. So that as we go through that design, if it's something that needs amended, needs moved, we could really look into how that curb could impact that Main Street corridor for sidewalk use and really enhance that. And to try to describe it one more time for the public, what we would like to do is consume at least 1 or 2 spaces in each block with a platform that effectively extends the sidewalk out into the parking area so that you could have an improved sidewalk seating atmosphere. We would put some planters up on it so that it would be safe. We would have a pedestrian barrier so that people wouldn't walk off of it into the street. At the same time, we would put a temporary curb, much you would see in a parking stall, along the line of the parking lane, so as to prevent just a random car from accidentally moving in that direction too far. But at the same time, we would also be reassured by the distance from the travel lane to this side. right? Which we would expect to be about 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet by the time we get finished.
What you're also showing in the picture that might help a little bit is tables. Is that something that's part of this cost and would stay?
We would
As
try to
per what we-
reuse some of the tables we have, but yeah, those would be semi-permanent installations too.
Right.
And what we'd like to do is decorate it up so that it looks attractive, so that it's not just a wooden platform in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And so that it looks like part of the streetscape and looks like a natural element on our main street.
Sure.
So that it's more likely to be used, but also we can just really try to feel what the temperature is and on the community with how narrow those streets become with the streetscape project. What we would like to do is add space along the sidewalk to enhance the experience of walking, but enhance the opportunity of renters to use that space for tables and just public use. Right now, you're really narrowed in with the way the plantings are, and then you just have that real narrow pedestrian zone. There's no good opportunities along our main street for sidewalk seating, benches, parklet. You could do just a bench. It doesn't have to be tables for eating. It could be just a place to sit along Main Street that was enhanced. We've seen examples, I didn't include one, but we've seen a couple of examples of those in some of the photographs we've looked into. So it just seems like a good temporary way to see what sticks, as suggested by the consultant as well.
And Errol, these two locations that you've shared with us, they're not reserved just for patrons from those restaurants. They're reserved from anybody downtown who wants to take a seat and eat a picnic or have a meal or whatever. I
That's
would assume.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything about the dimensions, about the width and the length of one of these stations?
You're going to end up with a finished product in the range of 40 feet long. It's going to extend out in the street probably 6 feet. So when you count the verge area on the sidewalk, you're going to have about a 10-foot area wide by 40 feet long that you're going to be able to use. So about 400 square feet of usable flat space along each block where you can set tables up and do neat things.
Wow. Sounds interesting.
Yep.
Just note also that this is just for food sales. You could not have alcohol there because it's not specific to the premise. Once we get an EDC operating, then when we activate that, then people could use that in that area because it would be closed off. So alcohol would be allowed on the sidewalk cafe, but would not be allowed on the seating because it's just in the middle of the block. It's not specific to a premise.
Where are we on that, on the EDC?
That's part of the conversation and stuff that's coming with the downtown master plan.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah, and to describe it, it's a park. It's a park that we're building on the sidewalk. It's not a piece of or considered premise for alcohol sales or anything like that. So it's usable by folks that are downtown visiting, sitting, eating, doing what they're doing. It is not, as she's confirming for you, it's not somewhere where a restaurant can serve alcohol to, which is, it's like serving in Whizziger Park. You know, they can't do that either. So.
Yeah, the similarity you just brought up with Whizziger, so it'd probably be have signs.
Yeah, right. But we're going to head in that direction unless you all just don't want to. And as an update, I don't really have anything else on my list. Those are the two big items.
Yeah.
And we'll continue. Thank you.
I might comment to my fellow commissioners in the beginning of us working with Bravura. They mentioned pop-up. Just give it a try, see what how our community responds to it, and this is exactly one of those things.
Oh, yeah, and there's more. There's some striping they want to propose and talk about, doing temporary things with the driving lanes in streets that are owned by the city, not state roads, and use those as examples to show the state what might be proposed. But they'll talk about that at the end of the month when they are ready to present to you folks in the workshop.
Have you got a date for that?
Not yet. We finished our last downtown meetings last week, and they are working on that now. We've given it to them, and we look to hear back from them in 3 to 4 weeks, them back here with you guys in 3 to 4 weeks.
Sounds exciting. Yeah.
I will say, there was a lot of good quality participation from citizens in Danville. Both meeting directly with Mr. Walters, to showing up when we've just invited them to meetings. We've had good quality participation, as you would expect, and as very typical in Danville. It was a lot of positive comments, a lot of thoughts. Brainstorming was very prevalent, and we appreciate that effort.
I don't think it's too early to prepare interested parties in the public to go in with an open mind on this. This is going to challenge us nicely. It's going to have us being in the uncomfortable position of thinking outside of our normal convention. But that's what comes of great things.
Yeah.
So I just want to begin to put that out there so that when we do finally unveil it, there's not a negative reaction that is just not necessarily called for. Let's go in with open minds and just really say what's possible here.
Well, you can talk about that a little bit. You're trying to condition folks for change, and the reality
You could
is,
say that.
Yeah, and the reality is that the way the workforce is changing, the way especially with the pandemic,
Yeah.
you're going to see Danville is one of those towns that's regionally located so that it has a strong chance to grow. So as a community, we can try to embrace that and use that to our advantage, use that to our economic advantage, and try to set our path for us, and try to make that environment what we want as we go. And so that's really what your downtown master plan is doing. It's designed to facilitate that change that's going to naturally happen, so that it's more effective, and so that it is thoughtful and is consistent with what we have as a community, as a vision, really. And so it's exciting, and to me, it's just a great opportunity, and it does include a lot of potential change.
And we talk about all these wonderful places. I've never been to Hilton Head, but everybody loves it. And that's one of those communities that said, how do we want to plan this? How do we want to develop this strategically? And the end product is what everybody appreciates.
Right. And you can't just look at it like, okay, here's the property on whatever address, 4th Street, that we want to renovate this property. We want to develop this empty tract. That's not at all what we're doing. It's not about developing a single tract. There will be a plan for the area inside of the planning boundary. And we will designate and try to describe properties that are existing, and try to encourage and excite property owners to do things with their property over the course of time, and try to help them understand how the city can help, and how the city can engage them, and try to participate in a successful way to improve Danville over the course of time, and embrace the change that could happen over the course of time. And it's 5-10 years, could be 2 years.
I don't think you can overstate the pivotal nature of this. I really think that 5 years from now, you look back and you'll say that was a tectonic shift in setting our community on a different trajectory that is going to put us in a really competitive position, much more than we are today. I think the attractiveness of the possibilities are just, I don't want to say limitless, but I think utilizing what we have the way we could utilize it will be phenomenal.
Looking at item number 11 down there should hopefully indicate the change that is slowly happening, but is speeding up.
Yeah. And we'll get to that.
Yes,
Anything else?
No, sir.
Can I add comment here? This again is stated not as permanent. So There's a similarity here to the lane change downtown. That didn't go in permanently. Everybody had a chance to look at it, and if it doesn't work, it's not there forever.
It's a great example.
Thank you, sir. We are move into the section of Hear the Public. If the public has submitted any questions.
There are not any.
Okay. Then we'll move into commissioner comments, if there are any.
I would like to congratulate J.B. Williams for being the two-time winner of the Kentucky Open, and I think you have a nephew that did well as well.
I
Didn't
think
Ben
came in fourth, yeah.
I think so, but just want to give those guys some credit and some notice.
Thank you.
On the sports scene, and it isn't Danville, but it's close to us, professional tennis is in Lexington this week. The women are playing. That's a pretty big deal.
Very big
That's
deal.
good for the economy. It might splash our way a little bit.
Very big deal.
Yeah. I do want to say, and I've said this probably the third time in a row, is there's some people that are resistive to some of the things the governor has put out, but got to wear those masks out there. I don't want to see these businesses close, and I can see more and more some of the bartenders and business owners being concerned about people not playing along because we don't want those doors to shut on them.
Mr. Atkins, got anything?
Nope. I'm good.
I did make it out to Pioneer Playhouse for their only performance of the season. Yeah, you and I were there the same day. Yeah. I applaud them for gearing up because they had to get geared up whether they had one play or six plays. And I applaud them for being consistent and being open regardless. And there will be a comedy night. Help me out, Rick, here. Is that the 21st and 22nd of August?
Yeah, you got it. Lee Cruz will be in town, so it's just 2 nights. But yeah, I enjoyed it up there. I'm glad you brought that up, Mike, because going off of my comments, they did a really, really good job of spacing people out. And the people did a good job of keeping their masks on unless they were eating popcorn.
I was out there Friday night, opening night, and it was raining, so I just assumed we'd go inside and have it inside, and had a nice dinner, and that was the end of my outing, because they're only going to have them outside, and that was quite a surprise, but they're trying. I'm still trying to get in before it ends, this coming Saturday, right? The current show ends this coming Saturday?
What now?
The show, is it this coming Saturday or
Yeah.
is it?
Oh, when it ends?
Yeah, I think it's
It is.
yeah.
This is the last week coming. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
they- Sunday and Monday, they do not play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going back, so.
That's all I can think of. Anyone else? We'll move right on into financial, which is item 9. You have in front of you the bill list. And Chair will entertain a motion to approve the bill list.
I'll offer a motion to approve the bill list in the amount of $1,668,22.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins.
big
Is there a
number.
second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Discussion? Might note that the biggest number of that 1.1 million is 765,000. That is a transfer over into the, Michelle, I believe, into the general fund?
No, that's a transfer from the general fund over into a bunch of different bank accounts.
Okay.
In order to pay debt service and other things that we have that we're required to by covenant to pay.
Thank you for that clarification. There's no further comments. Chair will entertain a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 11 is the Resolution 2020-08-10-01.
No.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
We didn't.
We didn't vote on the
Do
bill
we not
list.
vote? I'm
No.
sorry, my bad.
Oh, we good?
Well, then let's vote.
Yeah.
All in favor of Commissioner Atkins' motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
That was on 9 though, right?
Yeah, it was number 9.
We gotta do number 10 is the budget.
Yeah,
amendment.
number 10, I'm way off.
It's all right.
Number 10 is the first reading of ordinance number 1953. This is the budget amendment, and this is where my head really was a moment ago.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let Michelle do some explaining on this one, please.
This is a budget.
First, let's have the ordinance. If you want to read that, please.
This is the first reading of ordinance number 1953, an ordinance amending a portion of ordinance number 1950, which established the City of Danville, Kentucky annual budget for the fiscal year 7/1/20 through 6/30/21 by appropriating funds for the operation of city government.
Thank you, ma'am. Michelle, you want to explain this?
Yes, this is a budget amendment because you all had agreed to buy some land in a couple of meetings before to accept an offer to buy some land. And in order to buy that land, we'll need a budget amendment to buy that land, and this is the amendment to do that. It's enough in the budget to buy the land and maybe do a little improvements upon the land.
Move for approval of the first reading of ordinance 1953.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. So this is an appropriation. So where does this money come from?
We're going to take it out of reserves as of right now.
And our reserves amount, do you know?
It'll drop at $1 million that we had before. We had $1 million in reserves that was over what we were required to keep in reserves. So we're using that money to pay for it right now until further notice of what we're going to do with the land.
And for the public's appetite, what is the amount of money we're required to keep in reserves?
You're required to keep, by ordinance, 20% of operational expenses plus debt service.
And roughly what is that amount?
Off the top of my head, $1 million of sorts.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Mayor Paris.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we'll go to resolution number 2020-08-10-01. This is the approval of the deed and settlement statement for the purchase of Walker Hall from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Counselor?
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. You previously approved a contract to purchase Walker Hall for the appraised value established by the Commonwealth, which again is the lot number 3 on a newly recorded plat at the corner of 2nd Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard. And before you is a resolution to approve the deed and settlement statement. And those documents have been reviewed as of last week in a conference call with officials in Frankfurt, who have approved them on their end, and they simply said that they will be ready to close as soon as they obtain as soon as we have our meeting tonight, and they obtain signatures of the governor and Secretary of the Finance Administration Cabinet. So they think due to those schedules that will be able to be consummated prior to the end of this month, certainly. They hope to do it sooner than that, but they are all teleworking. And so they're circulating documents the best they can during this time period. But they will be ready to close after your approval tonight, and they get the signatures.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move to accept resolution 2020-08-10-01.
Thank you, Commissioner Saris. Is there a second?
Yes, sir. Second.
Mr. Cottle, thank you. We are in discussion.
Would it be fair to say, I know that's the legal address, 2nd and Martin Luther, but that land stretches all the way over to 3rd Street as well, doesn't it? That piece of
does.
property? Yeah.
So the state surveyed that site, and there are actually 3 lots with Jacobs Hall in the middle, which is lot number 2, and then lot number 1 would be the lot on down 2nd Street, and I can't remember the name of that connector road between 2nd and 3rd.
It's by the health department, we'll say that, right?
That's right, by the health department. The track that's closest to the health department. And the boiler is, the boiler property, I believe, is located on that
It
track.
is in that lot, yes.
Yeah.
Any further questions, comments? Glad we're getting some movement on what heretofore has been unproductive, a large unproductive tract of land in the middle of downtown.
Yes.
Seeing no other comments, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And if I may, I have 2 other brief little updates. One in regard, both of which are from the Slavin Group regarding the fire chief search and city manager search. And I received an update that they asked that I provide to the commission tonight regarding the fire chief search. They did have 50 applicants for that position. They have all been rated separately, and they came up with the top 15 candidates, 2 of which have withdrawn, one because of another job that he or she took, and another one was because they eliminated the individual because he or she was not available to actually start until 2021. So they removed them from the process. So that leaves 13 candidates. They are all from, some are from Kentucky, but they are also from other places across the country. And they were in the process of checking the salary requirements for those top 13 individuals, and they suspect to put together a status report with a ranking and along with a questionnaire for review by your interim city manager and human resources director to review and narrow down the list. And once that list is narrowed, that will be done under normal city protocol, where a small committee will review them and actually rank them and make a recommendation for hire to you at a later date. So the first interviews will be conducted by Slavin, probably via Zoom, with the top final candidates being brought into the interviewing committee that will be established here under normal hiring procedures. With regards to the city manager search, they did have 36 applications for the position, and they, again, were rated by Slavin to create a top list of candidates. They made a list of top 13 candidates from those 36 and have asked them to produce additional information via a questionnaire, which were due the first week of August, so now. And then Slavin will then begin to produce a progress report for your benefit to reduce the list for recorded video interviews, just as they did last time, to present to you to make a final selection for in-person interviews. They wanted to make sure that that information was relayed to you, so that's the purpose of that report.
Yeah.
Is there something magical about the number 13?
Yeah, that's what I wondered. 13.
Hope that's not an omen.
I appreciate the update for one, and I would assume that the group for the fire chief kind of goes through a similar process that we did with city manager in terms of maybe Skype interviews and then personal interviews.
It's a little bit different, actually.
Okay.
Because the internal committee at the city will conduct those interviews that you conducted of the city manager and will conduct of the city manager search. So you yourself will not be privy to the actual interviews of the fire chief candidates. You will be, the internal committee will do that and then make a recommendation of hire to you.
Sure.
On-
I'm
that's-
sorry not
that's
to
on
be
the
clear
fire
on
chief
that. I meant
candidate
they'll
only.
do
On
the
the
same thing
fire
that we
chief,
do
yes.
in a different.
Okay. Stephen, on a different subject, but a different topic on the same subject, can we ask them to report to us the data behind the candidates? You know, I think it's important for us to start saying we had 2 vacancies. We had 50 applicants. Of the 50, how many were males, females, black, white, whatever? Then from the 50 down to the what number, so we can start showing the community that when we go through this process, that it's a long, drawn-out, very intense process. But at the end, we try to find the most successful, most highly qualified candidate, but we need to show some data around all those searches, even just if it's just a, well, we have several vacancies right now in the city. We need to start vetting out the human resources, some of that same type of data, so we can share that with the community.
I'm happy to make that request. So you're basically asking for just the demographic information of the
Yes.
candidates that apply?
Yes, that's right, because
Okay.
that way people say, you know, well, there's an inside job. It was already done, it was done deal, but it wasn't a done deal. We're going through a process with all these vacancies. We've always done that, but we just really haven't been sharing the information with the public.
I'm happy to make that request, and I'm sure they'll provide it.
Good.
Do we need an executive session tonight?
Do we need to have,
We do.
under what circumstances? So Commissioner Cottle can read it?
Personnel and property acquisition, I believe. And possible litigation.
It's the trifecta.
All right, I'll just read the whole page. I move we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 61810-1F. Move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation for which disclosure of details might compromise litigation posture pursuant to KRS 61810-1C. And I move that we go into executive session regarding potential real property acquisition for which publicity at the present stage might or would likely affect value per KRS 61810-1B.
Do I hear a motion?
You just did it. Second.
Well, you made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Thank you,
yeah.
Commissioner Sears.
Do it again?
Yeah, read it over again, please. In reverse. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in executive session. Sears, and a second by Commissioner Cottle to return into regular session. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are in regular session.
Mayor, I wanted to update you with during the budget, we used the industry 25% as our required, and it's 4.3 million for the general fund.
Say again, the amount again, please?
4.3 million.
Okay, thank you.
We have 2 resignations we're asking the commission to accept. Nathan Brown, police officer, effective 8/13/2020, and Hobie Daughtry, also a police officer, effective 8/12/2020.
Do we hear a motion?
I'll
So
move
moved.
to accept those
No.
resignations with regrets.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Any further business to come before us? Seeing none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Second by Commissioner Atkins. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like
Sign language works, you
We
know.
are adjourned.
Body language.